Hi, I've got this 20-year-old bike. It's got an oversized steel frame that despite its age is more comfortable than most modern frames I've tried, so I wanted to keep it. It's got aluminium forks and very old Shimano 105 group set. The main problem with the bike is the gear lever position, which I wanted to change by upgrading to combined brake gear shift levers on the handlebars. Because it's an old bike, it only has a 7-speed cassette, and combined brake gear shift levers for this number of gears are not so common. Looking for some on the net, I got the idea of upgrading to electronic gears, which would sort out the brake lever gear changing, give me more gears and bring the bike right up to date. First thing to do was to check a 10-sprocket cassette would fit. The original wheel hub seen here was too small to hold it, but a newer wheel had a bigger hub that used to hold the 7-sprocket cassette with a 4mm spacer. Changing to a 1mm spacer, I could fit a Shimano Ultegra Di2 10-speed cassette in fine. The width between the back forks obviously doesn't change, as it is always 130mm. The ratios on this cassette are 11 through to 25, though I think the Di2 changer can manage 11 up to 28 if you need it. Because the 10-speed cassette uses a thinner chain, I had to swap the chain and the chain set too, and the bottom bracket, as the Di2 chain set uses external bearings rather than the internal bearings of my old bottom bracket. I therefore bought these, as well as the electronic gear changing components themselves. The old Shimano 105 crankset and bottom bracket were removed, using an old toolkit, and the new Ultegra bottom bracket with external bearings was fitted. Here are the fitted external bearings together with the new external crankset. External bearings apparently allow a bigger diameter axle, which is therefore stiffer for the same weight, but I found there was more friction when you spin the new chain set than with my old internal bearings, which used to spin forever. You can see the friction here, though I guess you don't notice it when you're actually cycling. I used a 28.6mm band adapter to attach the front derailleur, as my frame doesn't have a brazed-on mount. The height of the derailleur above the chain set was adjusted using the attached clear plastic guides as shown. Here is the attached electronic front changer in position. The rear derailleur was simply screwed onto the bike frame. The next step was to fit the brake levers and tape the brake cables into place. The brakes themselves were then adjusted. An external battery holder is attached to the bike frame using screws in the water bottle sockets. The screw from the previous cable guide was used to attach the electronic rear junction box beneath the bottom bracket. As can be seen from the packet, there are a variety of different size cables. The set I had a 1 meter cable, a 550mm cable and two 300mm cables. This worked fine for my frame, which was about a size 60. The 1 meter cable can be seen running under the crossbar towards the front forks. You can see how the wires can be curled underneath the rear junction box to just help adjust their length. The 550mm cable is going to where the rear derailleur will be sighted. The 30cm cables run from the junction box below the bottom bracket to the front derailleur and to the battery. The battery is attached and the cables are roughly taped into place to check for length and position. A 10-speed Shimano 6701 Ultegra chain was attached, making sure the right side was facing out. An electronic front junction box is attached to the gear levers and clipped to one of the brake cables. and the 1 metre cable from the rear junction box is now attached to it. The handlebars are moved to make sure there is enough play in the cable. The new gears were then tested. You can see the front derailleur moving at the bottom of the screen as the levers are pressed. Here's the front derailleur in action. And now the rear derailleur. Once everything had been checked, the electric cables were fixed in place to the frame using the external cable adhesive covers. With everything in place, the original gear levers could be removed. The mounts had been brazed on, so they were removed with a hacksaw. I kept the old Shimano 105 brake calipers, but obviously with the brand new Ultegra Di2 levers. Finally, the handlebars were taped. The electronic gears are an extremely smooth and simple system to use in day-to-day cycling. You can see the main components are not really more bulky than normal derailleurs, and they're certainly smoother and more simple to use. Hold one of the gear lever changes down for a couple of seconds and the front junction box will light up to tell you the state of the battery. So it's an odd mix of a very old bike with a very new chain set and gears, but it runs well.